There is no better way to start a match masterclass than playing a fish. We have come down today to Suffolk Water Park and we're taking a look at bomb and pellet fishing and the way that I have changed it very, very recently actually. And I'm going to go through my thought process into why I have done it. But for me personally, I'll tell you while I'm playing this fishing, bomb and pellet fishing certainly, let's say 5-6 years ago, was almost like a secondary thought. So what it would be is when I was fishing a pellet wagon, I'm constantly firing pellets. Clearly some of those pellets would get to the bottom, and then every now and again you'd have a little go on the bomb and you'd chuck over the pellets and you'd catch a lot of fish doing that. And I would always advise, if you are fishing a pellet waggler, then to certainly have a bomb rod set up. But actually, if you put it as your primary way of fishing it, you actually feed it and do some things very different to that we would if you were fishing a pellet waggler. And that's hopefully, as I said, what we're going to talk you through. Now, it's extremely windy. The fish that we're targeting here do go fairly big. So I'm not expecting loads and loads of fish, but if it's anything like this, it's going to be a good start because we have only been fishing for about 3 or 4 minutes, let's say. So it's a perfect start to what let's hope is going to be a perfect day. So what I'll do is I'll stop talking, I'll concentrate on getting this one in, and then I think the first thing we'll look at, well, I mentioned at the start there, is one thing I've changed drastically is the rig. So I think that's going to be the first thing we look at after we get this fishing. That is what I call an arm acre, and potentially, wow, one of the best, if not the best commercial fish I have caught so far this year. Check this out. Let's just try and whip that hook out for you. And we have got a pretty special fish to kick off today's session. Wow, that was not coming out. That really wasn't. Right. Here we go, check this out. Angry as you like, fin up, not happy that we've ruined his day, but he has made a very, very pleasant start to my day. That is a fully scaled mirror, check that out. Whew. A few more of those would be good, but right, let's get straight into it. Let's get this one slipped back and we'll have a look at that rig. A few more of those and my day will be complete. But let's get straight on to the rig. And now this is where I've hinted towards. It's the one thing that I have changed very recent actually. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I haven't 100% settled on this, but there's definitely method to, let's say, the madness. Although it's not madness, it makes pure sense when I explain it. But I'm really interested to see what you think about this little section. So let's get involved in the comments. If you think this is right and what I'm thinking makes sense, let us know. And if you don't, I'm here to hear it as well because it's all about learning for everyone. But basically what I've changed is the way that I set my rig up. Now I've not invented a rig here, but normally when I fish the straight lead, so bomb and pellet, I would be fishing one of these, which was just a standard inline pellet. Really good. Your weight is at the bottom, so when fish picks up your bait, it picking the lead up from the heaviest point. All of those plus points, they're amazing. And yeah, it caught me a lot of fish. But one venue in particular had me thinking, because it was really, really silty. Now, it's not this venue, so today it's not going to come into play so much. But basically what I've done, I've set it up on a paternoster or a helicopter style, as you would carp fishing. So the weight's at the bottom and the hook link can spin round completely. Now, first things first, it is absolutely tangle proof. I mean, you could literally cast this 100 times. If it tangled once, I would be amazed. 100 out of 100, I'd be more than happy to say that it's not going to tangle. And then I'll talk you through how I set it up. But the reason basically why I'd done it is because the venue that was really silty, what I could do is these two beads on here, I could just slide it up. And what I thought was happening with the inline leads was the leads were plugging perhaps I don't know, 4 or 5 inches into the silt, maybe even more. And when I fish the bomb, I like to fish a little bit shorter hook link than perhaps other people would. Normally you'd see sort of a 16-inch hook link, but I like to get sometimes between like 8 and 10 inches as my hook link. So in that silty venue, what I was doing is exactly what I'd done there, sliding those beads up, and I just felt that it was creating this hook link to lay flat on the bottom rather than being kicked up at an angle coming out of the bottom of the other one. But what I do when it's not silty, like it's not here today, I just slide those beads down to the bottom. So I'm still getting the bolt rig effect. They're still picking up the weight fairly quick, and it's just been really, really effective. So that's why I do it. And also another little bonus, because your lead's attached with a snap link here at the bottom, if you want to, when you're fishing something like this, you can just change that to a feeder and you've got a perfect feeder rig. So there you go, that's my thinking. Let's talk about how I've set it up. Now it's really, really simple. 2 of those little matrix rubber beads that I've talked to you about. And then I attach that with a little size 14 hook link swivel. And on there I just clip on my hook link, and then that just comes onto quick snap swivel, and I've got a 17.5 gram square pair lead. So really, really simple to set up actually, and it has been mega effective. Nice and quick to change your hook link. You can slide up out the way if it's silty, and everything on there is just very easy to change, very tangle proof, and very effective. So there we go, that's the rig. What I'm going to do now is I'm eager to see if there's another one of those out there. Literally a few of those in a day, that would be absolutely fine for me. I'm going to band on a pellet right here, and we're going to get back out there. What I'll do is I'll fish away for a little bit, and we'll talk to you a lot more about the feeding and the bait and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to catapult some pellets out there. That gives me the distance visually of where I need to plonk this bait. We're going to put that straight on the top of those little splashes those pellet made. Feel your lead down, and we are fishing. So there we go, rig explained, how you set it up, the reasons I do it like that. Like I said, let me know if you think I'm correct, or if you think perhaps the more conventional way was a square pair. So I guess the question is this for me going to be the future of bomb and pellet fishing? I did say we might not catch loads of fish today, but the fish we do catch are going to be worth it. What a fish that was. 2 fish now, that probably the best commercial fish I've caught for a long while. But it gives me the perfect opportunity while I'm baiting up again to talk to you about the next bit in the sort of pellet fishing armory, let's say. So as I mentioned at the start, this was always years ago like a second option for me underneath the pellet waggler. But when I'm feeding on the pellet wag, it's very different to what I'm doing on the straight lead. And when you put it as your primary method, which we are now, there's definite differences. So what I'll do is I'll talk you through that now. Now, the first thing I do is just before I cast out, my bait's already baited up, my rod's just in my lap, and I'm going to fire a couple of pouchfuls of pellets. And what that's doing is giving me a range of now where I can plop this hook bait. Now it is extremely windy today, so it is a little bit hard to see and it's a little bit hard to feed accurately, but there we go, that's now plopped in on the rings of those feed pellets. So that's the first thing I would do just before you cast out, give yourself a visual guide of where you're fishing. And now let's talk about how we feed it. So if I was now fishing a pellet waggler, I would be using this catapult all the while. I'd be firing 2 or 3 pellets literally all the time, because what I'm trying to do is I'm going to try and get those fish to come up in the water and get them come really high, snatching them as soon as they hit the water, and that's how I'm trying to catch them. That's what the pellet waggler is designed for. But I don't really want that in this situation because I want to get those fish in the area, but I want to get them feeding on the bottom. So what I do is I feed a lot less frequently, but slightly more pellets. So you see in the pouch there, I've probably got 7 or 8 pellets. Now, when the wind allows me to, I'm having to feed in and out of the wind here today, but every time it drops, I tend to feed. So there's like 6 or 7, and I'll go straight in again with another 6 or 7. Like, I feed it in 2 stages. So there's 2 pouches gone out there now. And now I would probably leave that for, I don't know, it depends how many fish you're trying to catch. I'd happily now give that 3 or 4 minutes, let's say. 2 minutes sometimes you're catching loads of fish, but certainly less frequent. I don't want a constant plop of pellets, because all it's going to do is bring those fish up in the water for me. But I do want enough going in and enough noise to draw them in. There's absolutely no doubt that when you're fishing that style, you're fishing shallow on the pellet waggler, there's definitely drawing more fish in, and then certain pellets fall to the bottom, and that's why you catch over the straight lead when you're pellet waggler fishing. But when you're fishing it like this, it's much, much more effective to give it 2 to 4 minutes, do it in double feed, so make a lot of noise in 2 quick successions, and then sit there and wait another 2 or 3 minutes, and then just keep repeating that process. So you are putting bait in regularly, but you're not drawing those fish up in the water. So that's the thinking behind it. That's a definite change you have to do if you're fishing this as your predominant, as your main method, is feed it in that way. So hopefully it's not going to be too long. That tip's going to swing around again. The bites are pretty impressive sometimes. I do take the drag off my reel because they can really drag that rod in, so it can be good fishing. So let's hope it's not going to be too long before that happens. Not entirely sure how many more of those I want to catch. They're really pulling my arm off, it's hurting, and there's a bit of an ominous grey cloud coming over there with some rain. But one thing I really do want to talk to you about is the bait itself. Now, it's very obvious that we're using pellets because it's called bomb and pellet for a reason, but there's always stuff that you can do to just give you a little bit more of an edge, to try and make something a bit different to what other people are doing around you. So for me personally, when I'm doing this, I use 2 different pellets. Now, they're both in 8mm in size. It's just a nice size to catapult out at a steady range. But I use the green betaine green from Dynamite, and I use the Dynamite F1 Sweet as well. The reason why I use 2 is they're 2 different colours and also 2 different flavours. So I've got a green and a yellow, so it gives me 2 hook bait options. Some day or some venues you might find the green ones better. Other days you might go and you might find the sweet in the yellow colour are better. But I don't just use these straight out of the bag. What I actually do to them, as soon as I get to my peg, I empty, or I fill, should I say, a bait box full of water, and then I flavour the water with the same as the pellets. So these yellow ones here, I've got some pellet soak here in the F1 Sweet, and I put a good glug of that into the water. Then I empty the pellets on top of them. I do the same with the green, so you can see they're both the same. So that does 2 things. First of all, it gives them a little bit more weight, so they're actually easier to catapult out and they stay in a nice tighter group. And secondly, you'll see it better with this one here in the green one. Just look at my hands when I take them out. It just makes like, it almost feels like they've been in the water a little longer, and it puts a bit of sort of a crust or a traction on the outside that will break down nicely. So I think it's extra flavour because the water that they've soaked in is that flavoured water, so it's not just washing them out, it's actually re-flavouring them again, let's say. And yeah, so it makes them catapult nicely, and for me it just makes them a little bit more attractive than like a standard hard pellet out of the bag. They obviously will work, and loads of people do them, but if you can just put a couple of % each time in your favour, then you're definitely going to catch more fish throughout the session. So that's the bait, that's what I do with them. It doesn't take long, and it just makes it a little bit more appealing and just a little bit easier to fish. So I'm going to hope and pray that this cloud doesn't really rain on us. It does look like it's going to, but we are out there fishing. We just fed a bit more bait. Let's see what happens in the next few minutes. That is ridiculous. That would be more at home on Chris Ansell's carp chapters on our YouTube channel. That is an absolute beast. This is going to be an interesting one to be able to hold up to you, but let's get this hook out. Really struggled to fit it in the net. I had a couple of scoops at it. That is not a match fish, is it? That is enormous, and that's the reason it's making my arm ache. But what a way to finish. I can't think of a better sign off than that, if in all honesty. And yeah, it's certainly a method to get out there and give it a go. So I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you can take something away from it. Don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and we will see you very shortly for another match masterclass. Check that out.